The Clemson Tigers are back in the friendly confines of Death Valley this week after 2 weeks on the road. And it's the Virginia Cavaliers and old friend Tony Elliott coming home as the Tigers and the Cavaliers battle in an ACC tilt 12 noon on Saturday afternoon. We're going to talk about it on this episode of Around the Paw. I'm Garrett Mitchell along with Griffin Barfield and Clifton Kennedy. Let's do it. All right, so the Virginia Cavaliers coming into Death Valley this week. Always good to have Tony Elliott coming back to the Valley, albeit as the enemy. We say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, along with his Virginia Cavaliers. Clemson riding high. They're 5-1. They're 4-0 in ACC play. Ranked number 10 again in the AP poll. I digress. I think they should be higher, but it's another opportunity to pick up a big win and continue to show people that this Clemson team is not only dangerous, but they're for real.
I agree. And they have an incredible chance to even move up more in the AP poll with a couple of SEC matchups that are going on this weekend with Bama, Tennessee, and then Georgia, Texas. If Georgia loses, it would have 2 losses, and then it would probably bounce out of the top 10, and as well as, as college football upsets happen. So another great chance, and if you're able to beat Virginia decisively, and Clemson is a multiple touchdown favorite in this game, I mean, you could see Clemson moving into the top 8. All you have to do is play well, and I think that this team has the power to do so.
Yeah, I think it's great to see Tony Elliott come back in here and come back home, to Clemson. And it's been a while since we've seen Virginia. I think it's going to be great. And Clemson's going to be able to get another win underneath their belt. And like you guys said, maybe move into the top 8. And I'm excited about it. I think me and Griffin are going to be there. So going to be in the box. So it's going to be great. And I'm super excited to see, if we can keep this train rolling.
Yeah, and one thing right now is this Clemson team has been so prolific offensively, and we're going to get to that here in a minute and see how this offense for the Tigers stacks up to the Cavaliers. But, I want to start on the other side of the ball and look at this Clemson defense against what Virginia does offensively. We mentioned it on the recap episode after the win against Wake Forest, how the Clemson defensive line at times, they're effective. The defensive numbers and the metrics are good, but they're not quite getting the same push up front that we've seen other Clemson defenses have. So when you look at Virginia, it starts with their quarterback, Anthony Calandria. He comes in having passed for 1,490 yards, 9 touchdowns, but he's been intercepted 4 times. And Griffin, before we started recording this episode, one thing you mentioned is that Virginia, they throw the ball a lot, but they're a bit inconsistent despite the fact that they put it in the air more often than not.
Yeah, this team, it's very tough to kind of stack them up against other ACC teams that Clemson has faced, because if you look at the stats that they have, they are legitimately in the middle of everything in the ACC. I mean, pretty balanced attack. I mean, again, you also have another familiar face in Clemson with running back Kobe Pace. Virginia kind of run 2 running backs with Xavier Brown, who's kind of more of their lead back. He has had more success. He averages about 7 yards a carry. And then you kind of go into their main back of Kobe Pace, who was a Tiger, transferred 2 years ago due to kind of just the crowded backfield with Maffa and Shipley. So that's going to be nice to see him again. And then Colandry also runs on his own as well. He led the team in rushing yards in their loss to Louisville last week. So a little bit to worry about on the rushing side. On the receiving side, their top receiver, Malachi Fields, is one of the more top receivers in the ACC. I believe that he is in the top 5 of receiving yards in the conference. So that is kind of important to see. But I mean, if there's anything that this team can do well, it is guard the top receiver. And I think Avion Terrell or, Shelton Lewis, Jaden Lucas, whoever is on fields throughout the game, I think that they're going to do a decisive job to do so. So a lot to worry about with this team, a pretty balanced attack. both offensively and defensively. But if Clemson continues to play their game and kind of show that explosive offense as well as being at home, that plays a huge factor in how this game is going to go and the success that they're going to have.
Yeah, you're talking about defensive backs and covering their wide receivers. Jaden Lucas played very well against Wake Forest, I thought.
He's been playing well.
You know, so did I guess I noticed him more. I don't know why, but I noticed him more last week. And maybe it was because I was watching it on TV, and when you're watching it in the box, you get an overall view of the whole field, and it's not zoomed in on one specific area, I guess. But yeah, he has been playing well. But like you said, both DBs, both corners have been playing well. Yeah, I think the defense has been doing very well. But I think a lot of fans have focused on that defensive line and not looked at the overall numbers when it comes to defense and how well they've played.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, you can sit there and look at the optics and discuss that, but the efficacy of the defense is still there, and it's still playing really well. And you talk about the secondary, another guy that's really becoming one of my favorite players on the defense is Avion Terrell. And this kid is, just like his brother AJ, is really coming on strong. He's having a sophomore season. And Griffin, to kind of piggyback off of what you said about Malachi Moore for Virginia, this secondary has made a living out of shutting down good receivers. I go back to the NC State game in Concepcion for NC State. I mean, that guy's one of the better receivers in the country and really didn't pee a drop against this Clemson defense.
Again, too, with Stanford's receiver, Elik Ayumanor, I know that he did find a little bit of more success, but they were able to find space. Avion Terrell was able to give him kind of limited space, and that's kind of where Ayumanor is able to kind of succeed in those kind of the one-on-one spectacular catch, the small amount of time. I don't think Malachi Fields is Elik Ayumanor.
Yeah, so Malachi Fields. I said more. I don't know why I said more.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I think that they're going to find a little bit of success with him. I mean, Fields has, I believe, led the receptions for Virginia in almost every game, so that's interesting to keep in mind. All but one in their loss to Maryland. So kind of a balanced attack. They don't put up a lot of points. The most points that they put up in a game is 43 to a Coastal Carolina team. It was at Coastal. It was at Conway. But then again, going to an ACC opponent, the most points they put on an ACC opponent was Wake Forest, who are the second highest scoring defense in the ACC. So I think that they're going to find a little bit of trouble going into a defense like Clemson's. I mean, kind of looking at who they've played. Louisville, I mean, they only put up 20. That was a little bit of a closer game. So I could see Virginia kind of scoring between, the 10 to the 17 range, maybe finding a little bit of success. But I think that this defense is going to be ready, especially with it being at home, kind of drowning out the noise.
Yeah, and we've talked about this so many times. Cliff, you're one of those, and to a large degree, I'm right there with you. You find a good, solid, productive running game to be one of the sexiest things a football team can have. And when you look at this Virginia offense, they put the ball in the air more often than not, and they're not that prolific of a rushing team. They've only got just slightly over 1,000 yards as a team combined in 6 games. And their leading rusher is Xavier Brown, 334 yards and 0 touchdowns. Their leading touchdown rusher is actually Grady Brosterhouse, who has 4 rushing touchdowns, 13 yards on 9 carries. So that's a little bit of an anomaly. Kobe Pace is 71 carries for 331 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he only averages 4.7 yards per carry. So this is a Virginia team that averages 4.6 yards a carry as a team. Against a defense like Clemson, you can almost take that 4.6 and cut it in half. I just don't see them being able to run the ball all that well.
Yeah, they do use Colandrea to an extent. I know that they do use design quarterback runs, and Colandrea is able to kind of escape the pocket a little bit better than, general quarterbacks can have the ability to do so. So as long as you kind of eliminate that aspect, his ability to extend plays, because you've seen Clemson kind of struggle. I mean, looking back to that Florida State game, the way Brock Glenn was able to extend plays a little bit more, they found success through that. So I think as long as you're able to bring pressure, stifle him, and I mean Virginia's only 2 away games were Coastal Carolina and Wake Forest. And I mean, I was when I was in Winston-Salem for the Wake game, not as big as a crowd as Memorial Stadium would give you. I mean, Coastal Carolina, they could come, they know how to be a home crowd, but I don't think really much compares to the scale that, Death Valley has on incoming teams, especially even though with it being a noon game, I do expect the game to be almost a sellout. And for Virginia, I mean, you do have to start strong. You do have Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, and SMU in the next 5 weeks, which you kind of have to start on the right foot. But I think that you get off on the wrong foot going into a tough game, if not the toughest game on the schedule for them, being this Saturday.
It's going to be tough to come into Death Valley and get a win, because that defense is going to be ready to play, and then the way the offense has been playing, man, I just don't see Virginia being able to, get a lot of offense going. But like you said, man, their quarterback can, do a little bit of running, and I feel like if there's one thing over the past, at least against Florida State, like you were saying, when Brock Glenn got out of the pocket, it did we kind of struggled with that a little bit. I feel like, at least in that game, I feel like maybe if they got something going, it might be a quarterback scramble or something like that. I don't really know, but it's going to be tough, man. It really is.
Right, but you know what? Winning creates excitement, and confidence for the team, excitement for the fans. The two will kind of be interchangeable with one another, and frankly, even with a 12 noon kickoff, the more this Clemson team wins, the more excitement the fan base is going to have. And excuse me, you come in at 5-1, you're blowing teams out. You've won 5 straight. I think the excitement is back with the fan base the way that it was for so long when you're competing for national championships. I really do expect that you're going to see a huge crowd on Saturday, and just the atmosphere in and of itself, I think, could be overwhelming for Virginia.
I agree. This is the only home game for Clemson in the month of October. And with the 12-team playoff and the more games being played, there are now 2 bye weeks, and Clemson's bye week is next Saturday. So they do not play next Saturday. I believe it is the 26th. So
right, that's right.
Going into that, you also have the 3 toughest games on the schedule now. I mean, you have to go at home to Louisville, which perhaps may be the easiest game, and then you're away at Virginia Tech, one of the toughest places to play in the ACC. And then if Pittsburgh is still undefeated, because they are undefeated, they are ranked, you have to go up north to Pittsburgh and play Pittsburgh. And then you got the Citadel and then South Carolina. So 4 very, very tough games coming off of that bye week. So you have to gain momentum from this bye week. I mean, you saw it going into the week before, where Clemson had that first bye week in the middle of September. So you kind of have to get off on the right foot. I think that the offense is hitting the right keys at the right time. And I don't see a reason why this team is unable to go into the bye week with more momentum than they came into this week with.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, before we go any further, let's give a shout out to one of our fine sponsors, Venture Concrete in Greenville, South Carolina, where concrete meets excellence. Transform your property with the help of our expert concrete services. And at Venture Concrete Greenville, we pride ourselves on delivering top-notch, licensed, and insured concrete services to homeowners all over the Greenville area. From driveways to patios to building slabs, our team of trained professionals can handle any residential project with ease and expertise. Venture Concrete is owned and operated by Clemson Tigers, serving Clemson Tigers and the upstate of South Carolina. You are always on solid ground with Venture Concrete. And, let's switch gears and talk about this Clemson offense against the Virginia defense. And, in the last episode, we talked how prolific this offense has been, and you saw it again against Wake Forest, 566 yards. You've got receivers up and down the roster making plays, putting up big numbers, and that was with Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore out and not available for that game. And Phil Maffa, as much as we talk about he didn't get the ball in the first half, he still finished with 19 carries for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. So this team comes at you in so many different ways. Looking at the box score from last week, Clemson had 343 yards passing, 228 yards rushing, 566 total yards of offense. And this is no disrespect intended for Virginia. There are teams that are a lot better than the Cavaliers who are going to have trouble stopping that.
No, I completely agree with you, and I'm not discrediting Virginia at all. I believe that Tony Elliott is building a great program. I mean, this was a Virginia team that was bottom of the ACC a majority of years past. They were generally, I don't know about you guys, but in terms of what I've seen, they were kind of the laughing stock of the ACC, if I'm mistaken, with only winning 1 or 2 games in the ACC, and here they are coming into this game with a 2-1 record. I mean, he's building some good stuff going on, and I really like how Virginia have been able to rally in different games and keep games close, especially in their win against Wake Forest. I think that was a huge win away from home. I do think, though, that on paper, this Clemson team is better. They have the better players. And I think that you're really, really going to see that. I think maybe first quarter, I think that you're going to see this game pretty close. I mean, Tony Elliott's not going to go out without a fight. This Virginia team is a very gritty team. They like keeping games close. I think that it's similar to what you saw in that second quarter and third quarter against Wake Forest, where you slowly begin to see that game pull away and Clemson kind of pull out maybe that first 2-3 touchdown score lead going into the end of the game. But I believe that Virginia, good team, very good team. You are just messing with Clemson at the wrong time.
Right. And I think, Cliff, there's something to be said for that, too. Sometimes, even if you like a matchup on paper, I don't know that Virginia likes anything about this matchup first and foremost, but sometimes they're just teams you run into that you just don't want to see at the time that you're going to see them. And Virginia, unfortunately, they've drawn the short straw on this one.
Yeah, I really think so. I mean, this offense is they're on that train, and it's just keep on rolling down the hill, and they're passing 500 yards a clip a game. I mean, what's that? 3 games in a row that we've had 500 yards, I think. Am I correct in saying that, or is it 2? Okay.
No, haven't we had 500 in the last 5, or were we just short of 500 against Stanford? I think maybe we were like around 470 or so against Stanford, but 4 of the last 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's 4 out of. Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, they're just rolling up 500 yards. They're balanced, I feel like, and I feel like a balanced offense is a great offense. And, I've been one of the guys, we said it in the last episode, I want to run the ball, man, at least with the running back that we have right now, and I want to pass it too. But I mean, they're just doing it in both areas. They're doing it well in both areas. And for whatever reason, at the beginning, and that Georgia game to me was just strange. And
look, I want to play him again. 31
I do too.
Mississippi
I
State.
really do.
I mean, there's a possibility.
Yeah,
Very good
I
possibility.
do too. Yeah.
I promise you,
So,
it wouldn't be 34-3 again.
No, it definitely wouldn't. And but yeah, I think Virginia's coming in here at the wrong time, and I think Clemson's gonna do what they do best.
Right. Well, guys, I actually looked this up, and I whipped out my calculator and did the math. And it really is just an incredible stat. Clemson through 6 games is averaging 42 points a game. That is including the 3 points scored against Georgia. I mean, you think about it. Let's say even if you don't win against Georgia, let's say you score 2 more touchdowns. Let's say you score 17 points in that game. All of a sudden, you're looking at a Clemson team that's averaging closer to 50 points a game. I mean, that's just absurd offensive production any way you slice it.
I mean, go back to the Wake Forest game. They put 42 points up in the second and third quarter. The fourth quarter, they had their second team in. I mean, and Keith Adams Jr. found the end zone in the fourth quarter. But the first quarter, everyone kind of had their eyebrows raised. No first quarter points. Wake put up 7, which was the first time that any team has scored in the first quarter against Clemson this season. I believe it was 90-0. And then people kind of went out of the game with a bad taste in their mouths because, I mean, obviously losing that streak is a little bit hurtful just because of how the season has gone and things changing. But you kind of want to continue that dominance every single quarter, and they didn't get that. And I'm sure Dabo knows about it too, trying to get off to that fast start. And especially with the game being at home, I don't think you're going to see an offense that's shaky. I think the offensive line is going to be in sync. I think Cade is going to be confident. I think the run game and the passing game is going to work. If Wesco is back, I haven't heard anything about him being back. I know Tyler Brown is kind of out for a few weeks. Dabo did shut him down. But I think that you're going to see the offense perform at that high level again, where you're seeing a lot of points going into the half and another standing ovation with the Tigers running into the locker room.
Yeah, and Cliff, you talk about Wesco. I think it really is probably a situation where with the bye week next week, if you don't want to risk Wesco's health, you could probably keep him out this week. And you saw what this offense is still capable of, even when he's – you want him on the field. You still put up 566 yards and 309 yards in the air without him. So, really, it's another opportunity. You could hold him out another week, get him healthy. You have the bye week, and then 2 weeks from now, he's back out there. He's ready to roll, and he's healthy.
Yeah, I want to see him. And I want to see him out there, but with him, on the shelf, I want to give props to one player, and that's Adam Randall.
Yes.
Dude, I'm
Absolutely.
telling you, man, I love that dude. And he's resilient. He got his second touchdown against Wake Forest, which I was super proud of that dude. And man, it's just so great to see him back. I think it's like 2 weeks after. Is it 2 or 3 weeks? After an injury and being able to play. Yeah. Because he didn't play against Florida State. So, it's insane. And he's playing with a screw in his foot. And, I'm telling you, man, we have embarrassment of riches and at wide receiver. And that, yeah, exactly. That's what was coming out of my mouth next was – I coined that from Herb Street. So yeah, it is. It's just an embarrassment of riches at receiver right now, and it's great. I love it.
All right, now I'm not going to get too far off topic here, but I am going to throw you back in the time machine and test your memory here. What specific play against what opponent did Herb Street make that statement?
No idea.
Dude, I was watching
no
it.
Idea.
Hold on. I was literally watching it the other day. Hold on. I'm thinking of the stadium. I can tell you the player. It was Travis Etienne, and
yes.
But I can't remember.
It was Etienne.
Yeah, it was Etienne.
Okay. It was. It was 2017.
We were the away team.
Yeah,
I can tell you that.
It was 2017. It was at Louisville. Lamar Jackson was still the quarterback at Louisville. Kelly Bryant had taken over for Deshaun Watson. We go into Louisville. We blow them out. Really, Etienne's in the ball game with the second string, and he broke an 81-yard touchdown run down the left sideline, just completely left everyone in his wake. And Herb Street, and I can still almost verbatim quote the call. He just says, oh, my gosh, Clemson's just got an embarrassment of riches. So, it's funny. That play has always just kind of stuck with me. But it was against Louisville in 2017. It was Travis Etienne's first really big career touchdown run.
Yeah, it was great, man.
A lot of fun. Good.
Oh,
Trevor Lawrence was still a year away.
Yeah, but it was great,
anyway,
man.
Guys.
I loved it.
Yeah, so for everybody watching this episode, we don't charge for those trips down memory lane. That's a free ride right there, so we hope you enjoyed that. But are you struggling to get insurance coverage for your roof? Don't let multiple claim denials keep you from protecting your home. Sovereign Roofing has a team of experts who know the ins and outs of the system, allowing us to be your professional guide. With up to 2 inspections included with a denied claim, we make sure your roof is properly evaluated and your insurance company can't deny it twice. From new roofs to repairs and insurance claims, our staff provides exceptional service and ensures you get the best results. Trust Sovereign Roofing for all of your roofing needs in South Carolina. All right, so it's we always make predictions on every game. So let's give our numerical thoughts on this week's game. Cliff, start with you, then Griffin, then I'll bring up the rear. What you got score-wise?
I tell you what, you go first, Griffin, because I know what I want ours to be, but I'm not sure what I want theirs to be yet. So you go first.
I think throw me in the spot. I think again you're going to see the Clemson offense working its magic. I don't think Virginia has the firepower on defense to keep up. I see the first quarter being perhaps close, maybe 10-14 nothing compared to how first quarters have been with Clemson, but I think that they're going to run the wheels off of it. Noon game, it's their first game back. It's their only game. I think it's like their first games. It's their first game since what? At the hurricane. So a lot of people are going to be excited to get back to the Valley. My X factor, I'm going to go ahead. I mean, I'm going to say Jake Brittingstool. I think that he finds the end zone once, if not twice. I think that they really know how to use him now in this offense, especially. They're kind of just fine tuning everything now. But my final score, I have Clemson 45, Virginia 14.
All right. 45-14
Yeah,
it is. I would take it. What you got now, Cliff?
Yeah, so I have been going into the 50s, and I haven't. If we would have kicked the field goal last week, I would have hit it because I said 52-20. At least I would have hit our points. So I'm going to keep this in. I'm going to go 50 again, and let's see. Do I want to go 50? Actually, I'm going to go 49-7.
All right, nice even football score. All right, so I'm not going in the 50s either. And the reason I'm not, it's not for any struggles offensively or anything lacking when Clemson has the ball. I just think that Dabo Swinney has too much love and respect for Tony Elliott that if the game gets out of hand, he's just not going to run the score up. If the game's already out of hand at halftime, I think you see mostly second and third string in the second half. Virginia might get a cheap score late. I just don't think the game's going to be close. I don't think Dabo's going to run the score up conversely. So I'm going to go 45-10. 45-10 Clemson.
I like it.
Yeah, it might even be 49-14, the same score. Like just as a giving them an extra score in the fourth quarter or something like that.
Yeah, I think we're all fairly consistent on that. I think it's, again, none of us think it's really going to be a close game. Now, we could very well be wrong. Stranger things have happened. Vanderbilt did beat Alabama. But at the same time, at Clemson, in front of a hostile Death Valley crowd, this Tigers team is just rolling too strong right now with all of the momentum behind them. I think it would take something utterly catastrophic for them to lose the game. I really do.
If they lose in the Valley at all this year, I mean, I think it would most likely be Louisville or South Carolina. I know I hate to bring it up. I mean, but South Carolina gave Alabama a run for their money in their own stadium.
Look, I don't think Alabama's very good. I think they've got a couple of good players. As a whole team, I don't think they're very good. Now, if anybody from Tuscaloosa watches this, I'm sure I cue the hate mail, but sorry. Yeah. I just don't think you're very good.
I think they have an attitude problem. Yeah, I think they have an attitude problem. That's where it all starts.
Well, hey, hopefully we're doing an Around the Paw episode sometime in December, early January, breaking down a Clemson-Alabama matchup. Then we really get to prognosticate on just how good or bad Alabama is.
I'd love to break down Alabama. I'd love to. It'd be cool. I mean, but
yep.
Let's just focus on Virginia.
See. Exactly. Yep. I see what I was about to get out of my mouth.
So one foot in front of the other. Let's go out and beat the Virginia Cavaliers. So
indeed,
that's going to do it for us on this episode of Around the Paw. Hope everybody watching's enjoyed this breakdown and prognostication of this week's game. We're looking forward to Clemson being back home in Death Valley. It seems like it's been far too long. So let's enjoy it with the bye week coming up and hope Clemson keeps it rolling. So that's going to do it for us. I'm Garrett Mitchell, along with Griffin Barfield and Clifton Kennedy and the crew from Around the Paw, signing off, as always, saying God bless and go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Like and subscribe.